Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Happy Friday. I'm just going to wait for some of you guys to tune in. Say hi. Let me know where you're tuning in from. If this is your first time tuning in, let me know where you're tuning in from, definitely. And let me know it's your first time so I can give you a shout out. Personally, I'm tuning in from Atlanta, Georgia. We have offices here in Atlanta and Florida. We represent clients all over the United States, even though we're located in Atlanta and Florida, but we take clients all over the United States and internationally with their family immigration matters. So you can give us a call. Our number is 407 995 6567. You can also send a WhatsApp on 404 333 8754. Let me see. I'm going to say hi to some people in the comments. Today's really just a frequently asked question. So if you have questions or you've been coming on the live and maybe I've been busy talking about topics and have not been able to answer the questions, you can definitely leave your question in the comment box. And if I'm able to see it, I'll try to answer as many of them as I can. Let me say hello to some of you. Good morning, Katie. Yeah, she says, "Good morning, my favorite lawyer watching from YouTube, from Utah." Good morning, Facebook. Good morning, YouTube and Instagram. Yay! Good morning, Everblessed. Good morning, T Miles. Um, T Miles from California. Good morning. It's early there. I think it's like 7 o'clock. Hi, Pretty Ford from New York. Good time. Good morning. Hey, Sean from Mississippi. Somebody asked, prima facie determination, is it good or bad in a valid case? A prima facie determination letter is good, essentially because when you have a valid case and you get a prima facie, what it's basically saying is that you've met the minimum requirements to be classified as a valid victim. So it's basically saying that you've met the bare minimum. So having that means that you have a better chance of approval. It's not a guarantee of approval, but it just means that you have a better chance, as opposed to if you don't get a prima facie. If you don't get a prima facie determination letter, it means that there's something critical that is missing in your application. So it's definitely good. Um, Feed Extravaganza says, "Good morning, my beautiful attorney. Plenty of love from Dallas, Texas. Hey, hey, good morning." Um, okay, I answered that one. Chef Pascal, good morning. Good morning, Ade Tula Grace. Let's see. Does the as a 155 form printed in the passport allow you to travel? Do you mean the I-551? Is that what you're talking about, Danny Boo? If that's what it means, it depends on the context. So you need to know um, what you got that stamp for, and to make sure that you're not in removal proceedings. That is a stamp that you can usually be giving if, i.e., your green card has expired and you're trying to get this added stamp because you're trying to travel and like you have a renewal pending or a naturalization pending. That's also something that you can get if you have a conditional green card and the extension has expired, but they're still making a decision on your case. Generally, if you don't have any removal proceedings, generally you're usually good to travel because it's essentially a green card. It's just basically giving it to you in your passport while they're making a decision on your case. Okay. Good morning, Tamoy, on Facebook. Good morning, Lakeisha, Nikea, Margaret. Good morning. Okay. Let's see what other questions you have for me. Tima says, when do you expect to get an EAD for VAWA after submission? Plus, do they have backlogs? Even receipts are taking long. Secondly, does everyone who apply for VAWA get a prima facie? So let's break the questions down. So the first and quickest one is, does everyone who applied for VAWA get a prima facie determination letter? No. Not everyone gets one. Like I mentioned earlier, only if you meet the requirements to be classified under VAWA. If you meet the requirements, you will get one. If you don't, you will not get one. And you'll most likely get an RFE. an NOID, and if you're able to overcome it, then maybe you'll get one. The second question is backlogs, even with receipt notices taking long. I will tell you that we are seeing quite a bit of a backlog with VAWA receipt notices, especially receipt notices that are not attached to an application, like an adjustment of status application, meaning these receipts are taken anywhere from like 6 weeks to 12 weeks, which is really long to get, as opposed to if you submit your VAWA case with an adjustment of status application, which normally takes 3 to 4 weeks. So in that regard, we're definitely seeing a receipt notice backlog. And I'm not sure if it's because, so what happened in the last, I want to say in the last 3 months is there was a backlog with VAWA, with Vermont, who usually processes VAWA, and then they moved all this receipt notices to Lee Summit, who was doing a poor job, and doing incorrect receipts, or like writing the wrong petitioner and all of that stuff. And now everything has moved back. So I think all of that has sort of created this little, backlog. Hopefully they'll move quicker. And then the other question you asked was, do you expect to get an EAD for VAWA after submission? So the answer is that it depends. So if you submit a standalone VAWA case, you will not get an EAD. And for those of you who don't know, an EAD is a work permit. You're not going to get an employment authorization until your VAWA case is approved. Most VAWA cases take 2 years to 2.5 years. So if you have a standalone VAWA application, you're not going to get a work permit until your case is approved. If you don't have a standalone and you submitted an adjustment of status application with your VAWA case and an EAD, if everything looks okay, then you should get a work permit earlier. And earlier could mean anywhere from like 5 months to 9 months. You could fall somewhere in that window. Some people are lucky, they may get it a little earlier. Some people may not, and they may get it a little later. So it just really depends on where you fall. Okay. What if the petitioner of a VAWA case dies and the kids aren't there? What happens to the kids? That's really sad. Unfortunately, the kids will not be able to get it unless the kids can stand on their own VAWA application, because they're derivative applicants of a self-petition. So like, if a person is the victim of abuse and they die, they are the person, their own VAWA is no longer, they're no longer like eligible for the VAWA case. But the kids could technically be eligible depending on where the kids are. Like if they already lived with that person that was the abuser and they can do their own application as well, then they can just do their own application. Now, if the petitioner, let's say, passes away after the VAWA case has been approved, then it wouldn't matter because they would already have their approval. Okay. All right, let's see. Tyler says, hello from Billings, Montana. Good morning. Booth for the Bullet says, good morning. I've been sitting on here to make sure I'm part of today's live session. Looking gorgeous as ever. Thank you so much. I'm loving Atlanta. Even though the pollen in Atlanta is awful. I've been sneezing like every day from all those trees and all of this stuff. It's just too much. Okay, Sandy says, good morning. Is it quicker to process if filing is done for a child in the US or back in Jamaica? It's always quicker in America. Feet Extravaganza says, what triggers a deportation proceeding in a marriage-based case that has been denied due to no show at the interview? Honestly, there's not one thing or the other that triggers this. This is really up to your officer. Sometimes you have officers that are just so gung-ho and not the nicest, and they're just like, okay, I'm denying this person. All right, here you go, NTA. And sometimes you have officers that understand that this is not a priority. The person is not a criminal, or anything like that. So like one of the things that President Biden has said in this administration is, we got to prioritize people who are a national threat to the United States, or who are criminals. But if somebody got denied for the marriage-based case, that really shouldn't be a priority. But that being said, the officers, still have the discretion, CBP, ICE, they also have the discretion to still send whoever they want to proceedings. So it just depends. I mean, there are certain cases where you see more proceedings happen quicker than the other, like i.e., if you get denied for asylum, probably 99% of the time you will be immediately referred for proceedings, right? Deportation proceedings. If you have a conditional green card and your conditional green card is denied, the odds are more likely that you will be sent an NTA, which is a notice to appear in front of an immigration judge for proceedings. So marriage is a toss up. It could happen, it couldn't. So it just really depends. In President Trump's time, every denial is a threat to you being in the United States. It's very scary. So it's different now. Okay. Um, Sandra says, "Happy Friday. How are you doing? I see the allergies bothering you. It's killing me here. Yeah, this, like, you guys don't even understand. Like, I want to itch my nose so bad right now. It's terrible. Okay. Okay, so Pedro says, "Good morning. Will my juvenile record affect me for VAWA and the green card process? I got DACA with my record. I hope it's the same with VAWA. When I hire a lawyer, do you help me write the affidavit?" So without seeing what your records are and how long ago it was, um, I can't tell you whether it will affect you or not. Every lawyer is different, as far as writing your declaration, if that's what you're referring to. So it depends on who you go to. I'll be happy to consult with you to see what your records are and how quickly or how recent it was. You can call the office 407-995-6567. Okay. Okay, so Milton on YouTube says, "How are you? I got my work permit and travel permit in one card through VAWA. Is it safe to travel considering I was illegally in the US?" Milton, one of the things that you want to check is to make sure that there is no outstanding NTA for you, or you're not in any deportation proceeding. If you're not in any deportation proceeding, that's what a travel permit is for, to allow you to travel and come back. Okay. Um, okay, Shantek says, "What does no AOE, EOS, and COS mean?" Basically, in your passport. Okay, so let me not say anything bad about USCIS officers, or Customs and Border. I mean, it means nothing, you know. Basically, AOE means you're basically saying no adjustment of status or no change of status and stuff like that, is what they're trying to tell you, that you can't do that, but you already know you can't do that technically, because when you come into the US, you know that you shouldn't be coming in with that intent. That being said, if you're married to a US citizen, you're an immediate relative and you can. So Tyler says we need an office tour. It is coming soon. It is under demolition and construction right now, and I'm actually working out of my home office. But I will be giving you guys a grand tour. Don't worry, if you guys want to see it. So we're getting it all set up because we're going to make it really nice. So don't worry, it's coming very soon. But construction and all that stuff takes a little while. Okay. Minute Maids of Orlando says good morning. Let me see what else I have here. Okay, so Boo for the Bula says, "A friend of mine was in an abusive marriage. The spouse kicked him out. He filed for VAWA and he got his prima. Now the wife keeps treating him, threatening him. She's going to file for an annulment, another divorce." Well, I mean, she can threaten him all she wants. I mean, you know, he doesn't have to sign an annulment documentation. At the end of the day, if you're saying that you're annulling your marriage, you have to prove that to a judge that your marriage should be annulled. Like why, so it depends on what circumstances in which she's annulling it. But annulment is very difficult to get. Like basically, obviously I'm not a divorce lawyer, so don't quote me on this. I'm just telling you guys based on memory from studying, both New York and Florida bar exams, that a lot of times with annulments, things that you're looking at are, was the marriage entered into fraudulently? Did they not consummate the marriage? Was there some mental incapacity that they entered into the marriage? Those are generally the reasons why, you might have an annulment that's granted. That being said, an annulment that was done under duress is not necessarily going to affect your Vowel case. But your friend should certainly not agree to an annulment if he doesn't believe he or she meets any of those grounds. They should fight for a divorce, plain and simple. Okay. Lorna Miles says, "Good morning, Madame. I'm just following you. I'm a citizen. I just love your work. God bless you. Keep up the good." Thank you so much. That's so sweet. Thank you. Um, Princess Shimon says, "You're the best. Thank you. Good morning, Olighton. Good morning, Tanique. Happy Friday." Benny Zen says, "Good morning, Ma. Thanks for all you guys do. Thank you. We appreciate it here." Um, okay. All right, let me see what other questions I have here. Okay, my brother did a Stokes interview in December of 2021. He has not received a notice of update prior to the interview. Is this wait time normal? Honestly, like with a with a Stokes interview, nothing is really normal. Many things can happen. They might be doing like an in-depth investigation on your brother. Like they may be doing home visits. They may be doing visits with their place of work. They may be doing business with their neighbor. I said doing business. They may be doing investigation with their neighbors. You know, and stuff like that. That being said, if they just are really antsy and they want to know what USCIS is doing, or just give us a decision already, they should just they can do congressional assistance and ask a local congressman or woman that's part of their precinct to check in on their case for them, just so that they can make a quicker decision on their case. Okay. Princess Shimon says, "I love you, my lawyer." Love you too. Nikkei Music says, "Good morning. Can I apply for a travel permit after receipt of a work permit and SSN?" Yeah, you can, as long as you have a pending case that qualifies you for one. There was a question that I saw that I was going to answer. Eben says, "How do you file for naturalization with a faded marriage certificate?" Well, if your marriage certificate is faded where it's not legible, you can just order a new one. There are many states that are listed under vitalcheck.com. And that's spent, these people are not giving me money, by the way, but they're great at getting you your certificates, like death certificates, divorce certificates, marriage certificates, and birth certificates. It's called Vital Check. Check is CHEK.com. Not all states or counties are listed on there, but that's somewhere where you can check for a certified copy of your marriage certificate. So if your state and county is listed on there, you should be able to get it from there. Otherwise, you just contact your county clerk's office and just let them know, you just need to order a new copy of your marriage certificate. A lot of them usually it's for a nominal fee, $20, $30, whatever, and then you can either go pick it up. Sometimes they can mail it to you. So that's what you should do. Sadie Bush Sheriff says, "Does USCIS actually send responses after an inquiry? I sent an out of processing time inquiry twice, and USCIS wrote that the response was sent, but I've not received any. Maybe check your spam mail. Usually they do. If you do an inquiry, they usually will send you something. It could take a couple of weeks, but usually they will send you something back, either saying what they gathered, or that your case is still being processed or whatever. But they usually send you a response. Sometimes it could take a couple of weeks, but check your spam to make sure. Everblessed asks, do the kids go on VAWA interview? So let's talk about that. So there's actually no interview for VAWA cases. Most VAWA cases are, not most, all VAWA cases are approved or denied without an interview. However, remember, VAWA does not give you a green card. What gives you a green card is attaching an adjustment of status to your VAWA application. So after your VAWA is approved, then you'll be scheduled for an interview. You cannot be scheduled for an interview until your VAWA case is approved. When your VAWA case is approved and you're scheduled for an interview, the only person that's being interviewed is the petitioner. The petitioner who is the person saying that they've been abused. Now, if you're a child and you're just a derivative, meaning your mom or your dad just added you to the petition as a derivative, the only person that's being interviewed is you, the mom who was abused. However, if you are a child, let's say you're a teenager that says, your parent was abusive or your step-parent was abusive, whatever the case may be, then you will be the one that's being interviewed. Again, your VAWA case, first of all, has to be approved. And then when your VAWA case is approved, then they will schedule for an interview. You will not be scheduled for an interview unless your VAWA case is approved. Okay? All right, let's see what else we have here. I think I answered some. So Everblessed Deckle says, if you qualify for VAL and you apply for public benefits, does that go against you when you're going for citizenship? No, it doesn't go against you. And public benefits doesn't go against you when you're applying for citizenship. The only time that we worry about, public benefits is when you're applying for a green card, not when you're applying for citizenship. So those are the two differences. So with VAWA, you have an exemption because you're a person that's been classified as a victim of domestic abuse, domestic violence, extreme cruelty, and so in that case, you're exempt from being a public charge because by its very nature, if you're abused, most of the times you're going to a public shelter, you're going to seek governmental aid so that you can get out of the situation, which is why your prima facie letter usually will say that you're eligible for certain public benefits that are state specific. So no, it doesn't disqualify you from citizenship. Okay, let me see what else we have here. Precious Anyaka says, I'm always blessed listening to your sessions. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much. Okay. Friend filed for VAWA alone, got prima facie and biometrics. It's been 13 months now. What's next? So your friend is not going to get anything else until they either make a decision, send a request for additional evidence, or send a notice of intent to deny. So those, most VAWA cases, like I've always mentioned, take anywhere from 2 years, 2.5 years. So it just really depends on when they get to their case. But right now, there's nothing else for your friend to do. Your friend just has to wait through the process and the time. And once USCIS has reached his or her case, they can then make a determination whether they're approving, whether they're asking for additional evidence, and stuff like that. All right, let me see what else. Lotus Lawson, I just answered your question. So I just answered the question on timeline, so it's the same thing. Miss For You, I don't understand your question about what's the difference between an LPR stamp and an ARC stamp. I don't understand what you're asking me. Everybody says, once your VAWA case is approved, then everything looks good going forward. No. So once your Vowel case is approved, you still have to go through the interview, like I just mentioned. So you still have to have an interview. And let me tell you guys something. So, in as much as, I always say, when you have an approved Vowel case, your interview should really be a slam dunk because you've been approved. They're not interviewing you about abuse, but you still have to go there prepared. You still have to be able to answer questions like, okay, when did you get married? When did you get divorced? What are your what is the history of your address, your address history for the last 5 years, when did you move out and stuff like that. They're not going to ask you about abuse, but the basic things of your life, you should be able to know, like when you got married, when you got divorced, when you moved out, when you moved here. So once you're able to answer those questions without anything else in your records that's a problem, it should be pretty smoothly. Now, there are also people who need a waiver for fraud or misrepresentation. And that's usually adjudicated, meaning they usually make a decision about that at your 485 interview, because those are the things that make you inadmissible. And all those could be things related to things in your 485, not your Vowel case. So, like, let's say you were somebody who, for instance, when you filled out, I'm just using this as a random example. Let's say you were someone who, when you came from your country, you filled out a visa application and you said that you were married, but you really weren't married, but you just wanted to get your visa to come to the United States. And then, you get a proof of Vowel. When you get to the adjustment of status, you definitely need a fraud waiver. You need misrepresentation waiver because you have to explain to them, that this is something that you misrepresented, there's going to be hardship for you to be sent back home because of the trauma that you've experienced from Vowel and blah, 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 blah. And then it's up to the discretion of the officer at that point to either approve you or deny you. So even if they approve you or deny you for your green card for a reason like that, it doesn't affect the fact that you still have your approved Vowel and deferred action. Deferred action means that they can't deport you within that period. You'll still be able to get your work permit, but you won't be able to get your green card. So while you still will be able to stay here and work here, you won't be able to get your green card and perhaps travel in and out of the country. And that's just using it as an example of, basically it's not over till it's over. I always say this immigration journey is not over until you become a United States citizen, because at that point, it takes a whole lot like to take your citizenship away from you. So, that's the goal. When you get your green card, you still want to be on your best behavior. You still want to be paying taxes, paying child support. I can tell you, how many people I see lose their chance of citizenship because they didn't pay for or they didn't take care of their kids, both women and men. So this is not only men, because if your husband is basically watching your child or has custody of the child, or your husband's family has custody of your child, you're still expected to pay child support in some capacity unless you show that you're incapable of paying child support, if you're filing for citizenship. Even if the person doesn't put you in child support, for you to get your citizenship, you must prove that you either paid some monetary contribution towards that child, or that the parents, meaning the other parent of the child, was okay with your lack of contribution. Like they have to do an affidavit. Sometimes USCIS won't even call them. So until that point, that's when you're fully free. Same thing when you're a green card holder. If you get into an incident with the law, if it's a crime of moral turpitude, and it's a deportable offense, you could lose your green card. You could be deported. So just be on your best so you become a citizen. And even if you become a citizen, still be on your best. Who wants to go to jail, right? Jamie says, good morning, Ma. What happens when you change your address and you're yet to notify USCIS? Notify USCIS today. When you change your address and you have a pending case, it's messy, because then you prolong your case if they don't know whether or not, especially if you change your address to a different state, because they need to have the person making the decision has to have jurisdiction. So like let's say you're living in Texas and then you move to Georgia. Texas no longer has jurisdiction if you file in Texas. So technically an officer can say to you there, well, I can't make a decision on your case because you don't live here anymore. So you should let them know that. And also because you want to make sure that you're being sent to biometrics in the correct state. And same thing, you want to make sure that your interview is in the correct state. Okay. Christine Wallace says, learned so much from you. I could help others. Thanks for being a good representative for all. You're welcome. Okay. All right. Samantha Robb says, after doing the interview in almost a year after they did a home visit, they sent you a notice and intend to deny. If you respond to them, will they do another home visit? Usually they will make a decision based on your response to the notice of intent to deny. So good luck with that. AOJ says, can a Vowel case be appealed if denied? Yes, it can. You just have to do it within the deadline. Good morning, Colleen. Princess Shamu says, you remove tears from people's eyes. You but a smile. You change the lives of many people. My God always protect you. Amen. 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 Thank you so much. All right, let's see. Nikkei Music, you can contact our office by calling 407-995-6567. You can also send a WhatsApp to 404-333-8751. If you look on my profile on Instagram, you should see our contact number. It's also, let me put it in the ticker here on, so it's also in the ticker here on Facebook now and on YouTube. You can see our phone number, so you can always call us there. And then you can also just book a consultation directly from our website as well, which is www.chidolelaw.com. Okay. Nikia says, I honestly think Vowel cases need to be priority even before some other cases. There are victims out there that are really going through things you would never believe or imagine. I just think they should put the timeline up there as if it was a regular marriage base. It's so long. I mean, I agree with you. I really do. And I find it interesting that almost all humanitarian cases take the longest, and I really don't know why. They just give priority to people that are married to US citizens, and humanitarian cases just take longer. But I think that, like you said, I mean, we have clients that really deal with atrocious stuff, or like where we are witnessing the abuse happening as we're representing them, or even being on the phone and hearing some really scary stuff happen. I've been in phone calls in a consultation where a spouse walked in, and the spouse had to lie of what they were on the call with, and like we had to delete our number and erase all that, and like we in the firm basically had to not answer the phone as our law firm just to protect our clients. So people are definitely going through stuff, which is why I never understand when people give victims a hard time and say, oh, all these violent victims. But the thing is, so many people are suffering. And until you're suffering, you don't know. You really have no idea like what people are dealing with, so maybe one day they will. So all right, let's see. Let me answer some of these Instagram questions. If my spouse didn't file 2019 and 2020 taxes, but he did 2021, can he still be my only affidavit of support, being that, that he made enough in 2021? So while he can still do your affidavit of support based on his income in 2021, he still has to write in there why he did not file taxes in 2019 and 2020. If the reason is not logical or there's no reason, he can still do an amended taxes and file it now. So, but you want to reach out to the accountant to confirm the process for late filing. Okay. So this one says, I know someone that completely has no papers, but ICE provided the family some sort of document. Why don't you ask the person to tell you the truth and how they provided it to them? Somebody always knows someone that knows someone that knows someone that knows someone that this, that, So I don't know the person, so I don't want to say what the person has, but it is unlikely that the person doesn't have something. So if ICE is providing them a documentation, they're providing them a documentation to allow them to go through the deportation proceeding in the United States, maybe because of credible fear, because of how they caught them at the border, but it is never what it seems. One thing you need to know is that many people will lie to you. Many people will not tell you the truth, of how they got their papers or what they did, and I can say this, with certainty and authority based on speaking with people who have lived in this country for 30 years and tell me their family doesn't even know they don't have papers, or their job doesn't know they don't have papers. So, unless you've seen what the person has, I wouldn't even put a grain of salt to it. Um, so how long is quality review after approved N400 interview? Not too long, unless there's something else going on. So if you've been approved for your N400, you should be scheduled very relatively quickly for your naturalization oath of ceremony. Okay, let's see. If you said yes on an I-485 for Social Security number but didn't apply for an EAD, so minor child 5 years old could get SSN, how you get SSN? You're not going to get the SSN until you're approved. Go apply for your EAD so you can get your SSN. Okay? All right. If my spouse is in the military and deployed, can I still submit an application for a green card? Technically, you could. I mean, it's going to make it a bit harder for you. You really have to show some solid proof, bona fides, good faith marriage, or your marriage is in fact real, and not that, you guys just married out of convenience and because it's not going to be here anyway. So those are some of the things that, I know that I did a video on red flags a couple of weeks ago. So maybe you can find that video where it just talks about immigration red flags. Now, red flags doesn't mean that you get approved or denied, but you just have to be really solid on your marriage and your relationship to be approved. I got married to my partner, but he lied about his citizenship and told me after we got married. Now I'm trying to leave. He's become physical and emotionally draining. Is there anything that can be done? Well, the answer to the question depends on when you say he lied. Do you mean that the person is not a U.S. citizen and that the person is not a green card holder? Is that what you're saying? And this question is from Moidesta 2021. Caution Supermom says, can you get denied of adjustment of status if you get food stamps for your child? The answer could be, yeah, it depends on if your child is a US citizen or or a non-citizen, and you're definitely teetering on the edge of adjustment of public charge. So I wouldn't do it if you could avoid that. Um Shotaladze says, how soon can I send the documents to USCIS after getting a marriage certificate? I mean, my spouse is an LPR. So the bigger question is, are you in status? Are you in status in the United States right now? Because if you're not in status and your spouse is an LPR, which means a lawful permanent residence, you don't even qualify to send in an application. So you have to be in status to send it in. Now, while there's no timeline as far as when you get married and when you send your application, you do have to understand, though, that you must show that your marriage is legitimate and that you have bona fides. So, okay, Shatala says she's an F1 student. So you're an F1 student, so you're currently in status. So technically, you could send in your application as long as you're still in status. However, you have to show that your marriage is legitimate and you have bona fides. So if, let's say, you submit your application super early, you don't have a lot of bona fides, you want to make sure that you continue to acquire bona fides organically, like a normal married couple. You don't want to, okay, today we're going to go open all these accounts, we're going to go do all these things, because then it looks to anyone that you're doing it for immigration. But as long as your marriage is based on good faith, and you acquire things just the same way a normal married couple, like you move in here, just like I mentioned to you guys last week, I just moved to Georgia last week. So this week you're going to see we're going to get new utility, or we're going to get new cable or internet, or water bill or electric bill, because we just moved in together, but not necessarily all being done in one day, change of our address, or DMV, but just things to show that it's organic. And you could take those things with you to the interview. If you don't have them when you submit, sometimes they'll send you a request for additional evidence. And if they send you a request for additional evidence, then you can also send those things at that time. Okay. Bella on YouTube says, after receiving my Vowel approval, how long before a green card interview? Usually it will take you, it varies, but usually a couple months, anywhere from 0 months to 6 months is usually how long it takes you. Okay. Tyler says, do you think processing time and approval time is moving faster than usual? No, I do not. I wish. Terry says, can I be married in Maine before the 90-day rule, then submit? Personally, I wouldn't. Okay. Mexi says, can you help them get started? I don't know who you're referring to, but sure. Call our office 407-995-6567 if it's something that we handle. We'll be happy to help whomever. Okay. And then on Facebook, Abugo says, how long does it take to get a benefit EAD green card from USCIS after prima facie has expired? So as long as your case is still pending, your prima facie determination letter based on VAWA will continue to be renewed. So the first prima facie you get is going to be a 1-year prima facie letter, and it will list all your derivative children that are under 21 and are non-US citizens. So this is not something optional or something that you have to apply for. They're automatically listed. And then after the expiration of that one, you will get 180-day renewals automatically. There's nothing you have to do. USCIS will send those to you automatically. So that's 6 months, 6-month increments until they make a decision on your case. So you will continue to get prima facies until they make a decision on your case. When your VAWA is approved, then you'll be scheduled for your green card interview. And at that time is when they will make a decision on your green card or not. Marsha says, my husband is still married to his wife and married me. Oh my goodness, he didn't put me on his lease or anything. Am I qualified for VAWA? Oh my God. So basically your husband is committing bigamy, which is illegal in the United States. I can't tell you if you're qualified without a consultation. So you can call me 407-995-6567 and we'll evaluate. There's so much to being qualified to apply for VAWA. Ultimately, it's subjective to the officer, but even to present a strong case, we need to make sure you're qualified. Infidelity on its own is not usually enough for VAWA success. It's a combination and a compounding of different things that lead to something, and how that can affect somebody, or somebody can interpret it as extremely cruel. So, a screening is necessary to ask you a series of questions to see what it is. Annie on YouTube, I don't know if you had an initial question and this is a continuation of the question, But it said about SNAP for children under approval with pending. Yeah, you're eligible if you're asking if you're eligible. Well, let me not say that you're eligible. What I'm saying is basically if you take out public assistance with an approved VAWA, that's okay. That's the answer to that. Okay, guys, I'm only taking like 2 more questions and then I have to go. So question, if a friend had a charge of assault and has done community service, will that affect their citizenship application? It could. It depends on when it was. If it was within the good moral character window, then he or she might have to wait until they're out of that window. And then also they look at the crime. Is it something else punishable by more than 365 days? Is a crime of moral turpitude? Do they do prison time? So all those things are things that are weighed in to be considered. Everbless says, if your only ID is expired and you have a biometric, will that be a problem? No, just take your expired ID. Rustin says, please, can you talk about how to adopt a child from international countries? I don't do adoption, so I can't talk about it. Sorry. Cute Chris says, my wife is a citizen. Can she file for my brother? He's under 21. No, your wife cannot file for your brother. An in-law cannot file for an in-law. The only people that can file petitions are the following. So this is the last question I'm answering. Okay, so as far as immediate relatives, these are people that visas are immediately available to. There's no wait time. Spouse of a U.S. citizen, parent of a U.S. citizen who is over the age of 21, child of a U.S. citizen who is under 21, okay? People who are considered family preference, but, they're considered family preference, but visas are not immediately available to them. You have to wait till a visa is available. Parents of U.S. citizens, sorry, not parents of U.S. citizens, children of U.S. citizens, so children either over the age of 21 or children that are married. They have different categories. Children and spouses of green card holders. If you're a green card holder and you want to petition for your child cannot marry. If your child marries, you no longer qualify. Okay? And then the last is siblings of U.S. Citizens. That takes the longest time, but you can apply for a grandparent, you can apply for a cousin, you can apply for a niece or a nephew. I get that a lot about niece or nephew. Can I add my nieces and nephews to the petition? No, you cannot. And no, you should not go lying that your niece and nephew are your children, because you're just putting yourself in issues that you don't need to put yourself in. Okay, guys. Valiant says, America is so great that people who hate it refuse to leave it. Valiant on YouTube. How is that relevant to this live discussion? Like, what does that have to do with immigration? Like, I did not accept any hate on this page or anybody that comes here to hate on immigrants. You absolutely do not have to tune into my channel on my live, but, I'm not going to have anyone talking badly about any immigrants on here. So feel free to exit my live because this live is for immigrants who actually need help. So people can talk badly about somewhere. It doesn't mean that they hate the country or they want to leave the country. Just like people can talk about their own country, and say, look, I'm from Nigeria, in that even though I'm an American citizen, and I blocked him already, don't worry. I was born in the United States. Nigeria might have so many craziness going on with Nigeria, but that is my blood, right? And those are my veins run through Nigeria, right? I bleed green and white all day, every day, and I will not say, let something bad happen to that country. For a lot of people, America is a land of dreams, is a land of opportunity, and it provides a lot for them. It doesn't mean that there are things in America that are not dysfunctional. It doesn't mean that there are things that people don't struggle with, but it doesn't mean that they should get up and leave to a worse situation. So people are entitled to, airing their frustration or saying, I hate the fact that a few days ago, 19 children are getting shot up and killed, for no reason, and nothing is happening. But why should they leave the country for airing that opinion? This is the United States, freedom of speech. But even with freedom of speech, you don't have to be in this room or on this live if you do not support immigrants. So bye-bye. Thank you. Anywho, Maya says, "Can I get the hair details? It's beautiful. Thanks. I actually I get my hair from what's her name again? Terry Styles on Instagram, Styles with a Z. All right, guys. I hope you guys have an awesome weekend. I will be back on live Tuesdays at 10 o'clock. Next week, Friday, I'm probably going to come on a little later because I have some appointments in the morning. Guys, moving to a new state, there's a lot that's happening, meeting with contractors, meeting with people for buildings and all of that. So we're working on office, we're building a house. There's just so much going on. But I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Somebody asked me where we're located. Well, I'm physically in Atlanta today, but we have offices in Atlanta and in Florida. But it doesn't matter. We can still represent you regardless of your location. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. And I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.